back a couple of lines. The third line from the end of the top section on Beis. U-kmo-ken. So all of these illustrations where we find the phenomena that the higher the oir, the lower is the keni. At the end of this paragraph, we'll further discuss this. So these are all illustrations from which we can get the sense of this phenomenon. Therefore, u-kmo-ken hu be-hashpah gashmis hanal, that the similar thing is reflected in the hashpah gashmis, in the gashmis method of transmission, of being mashpia. We explained many times that the word hashpah infers not simply giving what one has. Hashpah means to draw an essence from a higher source and to translate it in a manner that it can be bestowed to a recipient. This means hashpah. Because the principle of hashpah is that you're giving something with oir, something with significance, with life element. Life you cannot give, but you can draw from the life force and translate it in a manner that it can be transmitted. These hashpah gashmis hanal. The hashpah gashmis, the lowest form of hashpah is in gashmis, and the way we find it in birth. The hamshachas ho'etzem hu, that the hamshacha of the etzem. This is what comes in gashmis. Ba hu ba betipo gashmis dafke. This etzem comes in tisha gashmis. Now, as I've said many times, etzem is totally an elusive concept. It doesn't even exist in Gashmis. The allusion with the word etzem is something that exists in and of itself. Etzem, in truth, means not only that it was not made, it doesn't need to be made. It is there by etzem. It's with etzem. The only thing is that is there by etzem is Elokus. Doesn't need to be made. This etzem of Elokus, this is imbued in every neshama. This is what we say the neshama is drawn to Elokus, and it's capable of relating and to understand Elokus because it itself is of the same stuff. There is no explaining how the neshama lives and how the neshama gives life. There's no explaining, and a step further, there is no need to explain. Because this life is what element requires an explanation? That which poses a question, where does it come from? How come it's here? Something that has a limit, something that has that begs an explanation because it has a precarious element in it. The neshama does not have a precarious element. Like we all understand, we all sense that after 120, the person's physical life, so to speak, dissipates. The neshama doesn't dissipate. How do we know that? Because it's impossible for the neshama to dissipate. This was the answer. And this etzem is what's nimshach in Heilodah. Because only such because Heilodah actually gives birth to a child that also defies the question of where is this life from? And therefore, this comes and expressed, it comes through a tipo gashmis dafki. Because in the worldly context, in the worldly presence, a gashmi is that which is what we say is also taken for granted. Recently, I don't remember the context. Someone was talking to me about Ruchnis. Whatever. So he says, Gashmis is Gashmis. I said, how do you know there is Gashmis? How do you know there is Gashmis? He's never heard a question like that. He says, Gashmis is there. Of course, our knowledge of Gashmis is through an experience, because the neshama does not know of Gashmis. But that experience is of such fundamental simplicity that it is not viewed as something that one finds out. And this is the means by which a hashpah atzmis can be transmitted. The Gashmi method. Yeah.
You mentioned that hashpah is giving the higher in the or form. Where's the or in hashpah gashmis? Where's the or aspect?
Okay, I was going to. Okay, let's finish this bag. I want to talk about this. And the similar thing, the same is in the koyach haruchni, in the spiritual koyach that is manifest and results in Heilodah, in giving birth. Shenim shach, where in this koyach haruchni is drawn koyach ein soif, an infinite koyach, and limitless koyach. Now, Es meint Ein Sof. Ein Sof means it has no end. Now, we spoke many times. Anything that is a composite of finite entities can never be limitless. We say Koyach Ein Sof. This is a manner of speech. In our terminology, we say it's endless. But endless means that it's not a composite of units, of smaller units. A composite cannot be endless. Like we said many times, you can't accumulate an infinite amount. And therefore, Vehu koyach atzmi davko. Koyach Ein Sof is a koyach atzmi davko. Is present in the koyach atzmi exclusively. Koyach atzmi, as we said before, means that it does not have a source, and it defies the whole question of a source, because it's a reality. That statement, it's a reality, contradicts our whole perception of existence, of worldly existence. And we were able to relate to it only because we have a real neshama. We have a reality, we have that reality in us. If we were to relate to it exclusive only with our thinking process or with our logic process, there's no way we can relate to it. On the logic and then the thinking process, we can only sense it. We see that the human being defies measurement. And his knowledge of reality is what we call a real knowledge, not exclusive, not limited to his experience. He knows it from its inception. He knows it before he finds out about it. That's meant to koyach atzmi. This koyach atzmi is what's transmitted in the steeple and giving verse. And this is the answer to your question, what is the oil element? It is not a composite of units. It is not a presence of a intellectually tangible element. It's not an imaginable element. What then is it? The answer is, it's godly. This is what I mean by the word God. God preceded all existence. If you want to understand what's going on, the first thing is to know that God created the Shemayim V'Aretz. Then you'll be able to understand what's going on. If you skip that first sentence, you will never know what's going on. And therefore, for this reason, Ein ha-koyach nichle lo'olam. This is why this koyach doesn't dissipate ever. It never ends. V'nim shachtom, and it continues on all the time, always. Ad ein shiur, the point of ein shiur, of no measurement. This is what a human being is. This is what the unborn child is. Okay. V'al pi hanal yuvon, on the basis of the above explanations and discussions, yuvon will be understood ma she'omer b'medrash Rabbah, what it says in Medrash Rabbah, which we brought down in the beginning of this mimer. Hamoshol, essentially, the Medrash speaks about the fact that the waters were gathered into one place and dry land appeared. The waters also contain living creatures. Yet the dry land facilitated another type of living creature. And the Medrash explains it with this motion. That the motion is the Melech who had the Urim Ilmin, who had Mam dwellers, and then he had Pikhin, and then he had also dwellers who were able to express and to speak. And the Medrash says that this is that when he had only the Urim Ilmin, he had the praise coming out from in an Ilmin manner. And when we had Pikhin, then there was a completely different recognition of the Melech. And this is what was accomplished by dry land. So now he's going to elaborate on this. The Hine Yodua, for it is known, the Yam v'Yabosho, that Yam and Yabosho, the sea and the dry land, Hu inyan Igulim v'Yosher. This is in an overall world representation. This is what's called Igulim and Yosher. Igulim means circles. And Yosher means it's a straight flow, a straight downward flow. So before we go into Igulim Yosher, I just want to discuss the obvious inyan that we recognize in terms of Yam and Yabosha. Yam and Yabosha has creatures, and the creatures in both require sustenance. The creatures in the Yam have to be sustained, and the creatures on the Yabosha have to be sustained. But the method of sustenance is totally different. The creatures in the Yam are submerged and completely encompassed by their source of sustenance. They're in the water. They do not appear as independent creatures. They continuously contained within their source. As a result of that, their recognition of their source is total. They are one with their source. So even though they are separate creatures, but their separateness is not pronounced. And they're complete, what's called bottled to their source. They don't even maintain themselves. They're, as creatures, they've been maintained by their source. He once expressed it this way, that the creatures in the Yam are always in a sleeping position. They don't have to hold themselves up like that. Even the creatures on the Abosh, or those the four-legged, they still have to hold themselves up. They're held up by their own means. This is nothing they attest. They're always in a sleeping position. They're part of their source. The creatures on the Yabosha, they have a separate presence, and they have to hold themselves up. And if they are going to eat, for example, they are going to feed themselves. They're going to hunt the food, find the food, and eat themselves. They have an independent presence from their source. Okay. And this is the Inyan in world, the Inyan from Yegulim and Yosher. Yegulim and Yosher refers to two different forms of life, of godly presence in the total existence. One is called Igulim. That Igulim means a circle. A circle means that there is no top and bottom. Everything is encompassed within the circle. Yosher is also a bestowing. It also has a source. But the source descends and continues on further away from the source. That's Yosher. The Yegulim, where the Yegulim, the circle element, the circle level and source. Who? Kasher yeh ha'oifan b'sei ha'oifan. Like this is a posik in the Cheskel, I believe, yes, where he saw various levels in Lamailo, in Malachim and so forth. It says that they were Eifanim, Kasher yeh ha'oifan b'sei ha'oifan. There are multiple Eifanim. Eifan means a wheel. There's like a wheel within a wheel. So no matter how many wheels there are, they're all contained within a larger circle, a larger circle, a larger circle. Kasher yeh ha'oifan b'sei ha'oifan. Shehoyigul ha'tachton, where the lower eagle, who mukof mehoelyin, is surrounded by the higher eagle. And this surrounding means Be'alkein, and therefore, who b'bchinas bitul betachlis. So this lower eagle is in a state of bitul betachlis.
So it just burns up Malachim.
Yeah.
I think you just went into the sea.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Shmuel Yasmin. Are you here yet, or?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
Does anyone be heard?
Are you being heard? Yeah, you're being heard.
Mendy?
I think, I think you made the wrong turn over there in the phone.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Kasher yeh, okay, so they're bitul betachlis. Bitul betachlis means creatures in the dry land are also bottled. If they are not rebellious, they also bottled. They also recognize that they need to be sustained in their life. They need air, they need food. They're not independent. But they're not bottled betachlis. They are separate entities which needs to be sustained. In the eagle, he is bottled betachlis because he does not have an independent presence at all, not even for one moment. His whole mitzvah is that he is sustained, surrounded with the higher ego. This is why his beetle is betachlis. Betachlis means totally. Legabe. Legabe means towards the higher ego. Bebechinas heder hahispashtus. This beetle is, although he is present essentially, but he does not have his passion. He doesn't express himself, even to the extent of saying, "Oh, I need to eat." You know, I'm saying there is no his passion. It's completely contained and totally. It's like a baby being fed in the womb. It's not an entity. It's an entity. It's not a separate entity. Heder is pastus. The zehu, and this also is the point that is made by the fact that Moshe hoya kvad peh ukvad losh, that Moshe Rabbeinu had a difficulty in his mouth and in speech. Lihiyois shehoya mebchinas hoyagun, because that Moshe Rabbeinu was from that bechina of Egun, when he had that madrega of beetle betachlis, ukmeshe kosuv, and as the posik says, kimin hamayim mishisiu, that I drew him from the water, which means that Moshe had this madrega of being of nivroim shebiyam min hamayim mishisiu. This is from the Makifi. The hoya bebchinas beetle betachlis, and thus he was in that state of beetle betachlis. Again, as we emphasized, beetle, everything has beetle, but beetle betachlis is a completely different concept. V'yeh hadibur hu bechinas yeshus, and the whole principle of dibur is yeshus. Dibur represents an entity, a standalone entity. Okay, time is up. Just want to explain this. Dibur in B'chinas Yeshus. We have Dibur u-kmo-ken medaber. This is in fact what we are going to be learning. Dibur u-kmo-ken medaber. And the human being is described as medaber. It seems to be counterintuitive. Say human being is smart. He's got seichel. Got a different kind of neshama. Seems medaber. And here we have a clear statement that medaber, this is his ultimate status. It's one thing to recognize the truth because you're completely embodied by it. And it's another thing to recognize the truth with your own mitzvahs. This is the human being. And here is where we are going to interrupt. Have a great day. Yeah. Cool.